All right, so this man is going to give us 14 tips, 14 of them on how to lose belly fat effortlessly. Gosh, everybody wants to lose belly fat. And if you don't know who I am, my name is Mike Over. I am a coach, also a published author in many fitness magazines like Men's Health, T Nation, Inside Fitness, Elite. I've owned a gym for 14 years. I now coach, and I also am featured in ABC News. So I love giving my take on what people love to say, and hopefully you guys agree and or like what I have to say about this. So let's get it rolling, and I will get you guys caught up to speed here.
We're wired to store fat around our center of mass, which happens to be the belly, love handles, and hips. And there's a very good reason for this. Storing pounds of fat on more distal areas like your hands and your feet would require a lot more energy to carry around and to do the things that we need to do on a daily basis to survive. And this defeats the whole biological purpose of storing fat to begin with, which is essentially your body trying to stock up on energy in the form of body fat in case of a future famine where there's a shortage of food, or in other words, a shortage of energy. In sports like wrestling and judo, we can see that our center of mass gives us the leverage we need to carry heavy weight loads without expending a ton of energy. Your body already naturally knows this, so that's why one of the first areas to gain fat when you overeat is your belly. Unfortunately, even though your body is wired to view this as very efficient, not only is the stomach area the last spot that most people want to gain fat, but it's also very unhealthy to carry large amounts of fat around your midsection. Now, even though your body is quick to store fat around your stomach, it's very hesitant to let it go and will usually be one of the last spots that it pulls fat from. So you need to reduce your overall body fat percentage low enough to allow your body to burn the fat everywhere else before it starts pulling energy from the fat stored around your midsection. This is done mostly through diet. So a lot of times many people follow a strict diet, which becomes more and more difficult the longer you try to stick to it. So today I want to give you guys 14 quick guidelines that you could use to start burning body fat and belly fat as soon as possible without having to torture yourself in the process. And the very first extremely effective thing that you can do is
All right, so throughout these, I don't want to keep having to stop after each one. So I'm going to probably just give you guys some signals. That way, you guys know if I like it, don't like it, and I'll kind of cap it every 3 to 4 minutes on some good things. All right, but that's what I want you guys to know.
limit the amount of high sugar foods that you eat. Sugar doesn't only taste good in the moment, but it makes you crave more sugar in the future. When you habitually eat things like cookies, ice cream, and cake, you actually wind up decreasing the sensitivity of your palate, which makes natural, healthy sources of sugar like fruit taste much less sweet and satisfying. There are also studies that show a direct link between having a high sugar intake and having higher levels of abdominal fat. This is due to the fact that sugar spikes insulin, which is a fat storage hormone, and it also decreases insulin sensitivity. So this doesn't mean that you can never have any sweets. You can reward yourself with something like ice cream at the end of the week, but it shouldn't be a staple part of your diet throughout the week. Instead, you should do your best to stick to fruit to satisfy your sweet tooth. Next, when you go shopping, you're going to want to stick to the outside perimeter of the grocery store and avoid the inner aisles for the most part. So this includes your produce department, your seafood, meat, eggs, and some dairy. This is because the inner aisles are usually where you'll find all the processed food that ends up raising your insulin levels, increasing your daily calorie count, and of course contributing to the storage of fat around your stomach. However, other than high sugar cereals, chips, and cookies, there are some things in the inner aisles like rice, quinoa, and nuts that can actually fill up your stomach and help you reduce your body fat. So when you do go into the inner aisles, you want to follow the next tip, which is to pick mostly single ingredient foods. These are foods.
Very important. Everything in the inside definitely has a warning label, but keeping the ingredients to 1 or 2 is fine. Quinoa, rice, even some things as far as veggie chips can go a long way, and some kale. There's even that's like kale chips and beef jerky can be healthy. So, not saying that there are not even frozen veggies. Those things are all great things too. So, stick to the outside, inside, stick to the ingredients.
Foods that have a low calorie density, which means that for the amount of space that they take up in your stomach, they'll only add a relatively low amount of calories to your daily total. A perfect example of this is comparing Oreos to something like broccoli. Just one Oreo will have 40 calories, mostly in the form of sugar. For the same amount of calories, you can fill your stomach with a whole cup of broccoli. Now, on top of that, single ingredient foods require more calories to digest. The Oreo will quickly and easily be broken down into simple sugar without much effort. Meanwhile, the broccoli will need more energy to be broken down, reducing the net amount of calories that you ultimately take in. We can see this again and again when comparing many other foods, such as white bread to brown rice, for example. So generally, a great rule of thumb is to stick to whole, unprocessed, natural, single ingredient foods that either have a short shelf life, are frozen, or need to be boiled in order to eat them. Next, you want to watch out for added sugar. Even in the outside perimeter of your grocery store, you'll notice things that appear to be healthy, like smoothies and juices, when in reality, they're only going to help you store body.
Big thing here, because I get everybody asking me, Mike, even I was just away for the trip on a vacation, and the acai bowl places were literally door to door people. You look at the bowls and it's like a dessert. Okay. Yes, fruit is great for you, but not when they add massive amounts of sugar, syrups, and added sugars and drinks. Oh, that fruit juice that they put in the smoothie has an added 32 grams. It's a fruit. Okay. You don't need a lot of the added stuff. So be sure of that. And watch out for those acai bowls.
Fat and not lose it. That's because when you take a closer look at these foods and beverages that are marketed as healthy, you'll see that they're full of a ton of ingredients to help preserve the products, and especially full of added sugar to make them more palatable. If you want something like a natural smoothie, you're much better off making it fresh on your own by simply throwing in some fruits, vegetables, and water into a blender. Not only is this nutritious, but it'll actually help you drink more water throughout the day, which is actually the next tip: to drink more water. Now, the majority of people trying to burn fat think that water can be used to enhance weight loss and fat loss, so they try to drink tons of water throughout the day. Many of these same people will still continue heavily snacking throughout the day on high sugar fad foods like trail mix, but they'll still make sure that they get their 8-ounce glasses of water in for the day. The truth is that there is no magical property of water that significantly enhances fat loss. It will slightly speed up your metabolism, but this will only save you around 50 calories per day, and maybe closer to 100 if you only drink cold water. However, sticking exclusively to only drinking water is a great tip for those of you that have juices and sodas throughout the day, because this can save you from consuming literally hundreds of extra calories in the form of sugar. Water is also one of the healthiest beverages you can drink because it helps carry nutrients from the food that you eat throughout your body. Another thing that you should do right away is up your protein intake if it's currently.
Definitely like water. Good. I even add some flavoring. Sometimes I get some EAAs in to add some mix, so I'm not drinking plain water all the time. Because again, sustainability is attainability. So I do that. Even some decaf coffee. I love these things. Dandelion coffee, mushroom root coffee, all good things. And then guess what? You're getting hydrated at the same time.
Low. Studies have shown that protein helps fill you up and reduces hunger. Another benefit that we get for fat loss is that protein requires significantly more energy to digest than carbs and fats, so it will increase your metabolism if you have a higher protein diet, sometimes helping you burn even hundreds of extra calories per day. On top of that, it's also great for building muscle. However, eating too much protein won't necessarily give you any extra benefits.
Key right there. Everybody gets on the protein hype and then starts downing only protein. It's great. It helps preserve lean muscle mass, helps recover the body. It helps increase thermogenesis, but it's not a magic wand to fat loss. You don't need to overdo it. Get your goal body weight in grams per day, and that's good enough.
According to the research, maximum muscle building effects are achieved at around 0.7 to 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So even though having more than that won't necessarily hurt your fat loss efforts, it could make your nutrition plan more difficult to stick to because it will reduce the number of carbs and fats that you could eat per day. So I recommend sticking to around 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day, and having the rest of your calories in the form of carbs or fats. And if you don't know how many calories you should be having per day, you can use the macro calculator link in the description below. Now, like I mentioned earlier, before you're able to burn belly fat, it's going to take some time for your body to first burn off fat from other places. So you need to be consistent for some time before you start seeing the stubborn belly fat decreasing. To stay consistent, it's very important that you follow the next simple rule of making healthy food taste great. Any diet that requires you to eat foods you hate or to cook them in a bland taste.
Very key. Everybody asks me, how do you eat so many veggies? It's because I make them taste good for me, right? For Brussels sprouts, I shred them up, drizzle them with some sugar-free maple syrup. For my broccoli, I have an amazing seasoning that I love called Zatter seasoning. For my carrots, I love a honey butter seasoning that's 0 calorie. Finding ways to get your veggies to taste good are going to help you eat them long term. So do it. It's easy.
Tasteless way is destined for failure. Don't be afraid to add enough olive oil, seasonings, and spices to your meals to make them taste great. Being the type of person that pours one droplet of oil on the frying pan may save you some calories in the short run, but ultimately, heavily restricting will lead to a binge and failure in the long run. Similar to making healthy food taste great, the next tip is to allow yourself an occasional cheat meal, but only after you fill up your stomach. You can do this before you go to a restaurant or before you have a cheat meal even at home. If you have a small, high protein, high vegetable meal before eating the things that you're craving, it'll help take the edge off your hunger and save you a lot of calories without you having to use much willpower. Even if you don't have time to make a whole meal, simply throwing some fruits and vegetables into a blender and having that before you have your cheat meal will go a long way. Next is to not overdo it with alcohol. Since fat is metabolized in the liver, you're going to want your liver to be available for the breakdown of fat rather than it being busy digesting alcohol. But that's exactly what happens when you drink alcohol. Your body drastically slows the breakdown of fat to prioritize getting the alcohol out of your system. On top of that, certain alcoholic beverages will hurt your fat loss efforts. For example, drinking beer and wine in excess can add just as much sugar to your diet as drinking soda. If you're gonna drink alcohol, go for unflavored liquors like vodka, rum, and tequila. Also, if you want to make a mixed drink or use a chase, make sure you use a calorie-free beverage. Moving on, the next tip is
Alcohol will be a detrimental thing to your diet. Your body doesn't see it as something beneficial. So, what is it going to do? It's going to want to get rid of it first. So, it's going to then allow everything else to get stored. So, it focuses on that getting rid of. So, remember, it is a poison. It's not good. It's not meant for your body. If you want to lose fat, you want to lose belly fat, just make sure you cut alcohol out.
to eat more soluble fiber because it helps reduce hunger. It does this by slowing down the digestion of the food that you eat, helping you feel fuller for longer. Great sources of soluble fiber include oats, avocados, and Brussels sprouts. For those of you that are afraid of adding even healthy carbs like oats, remember that feeling full and satisfied on a day-to-day basis is a lot more likely to lead to a successful outcome in the long run because you'll be reducing your caloric intake naturally due to increasing your satiety rather than forcing restrictions. Now, even though the majority of your belly fat will be burnt via diet, the right type of exercise can really help speed things up, and it can help you maintain your results when you're done. Weight training in particular will allow you to burn more calories, build more muscle, which will increase your metabolism, and it'll increase your insulin sensitivity, which will once again be great for fat loss. Also, weight training will deplete your body's glycogen stores, which means you'll have more room to eat carbohydrates since your body will need those carbs to replenish the glycogen in your muscles and liver rather than your fat cells. Another really important thing to do is to make sure that you get enough sleep. Sleep is crucial for your muscles to recover, and it's when you rest and sleep that your muscles grow. Getting enough sleep helps balance your hormones, whereas not getting enough will increase cortisol and decrease testosterone, which will promote fat gain and muscle loss. Do
Good
your best
tip.
to get at least 6 to 7 hours of sleep per night to ensure that your body is primed for fat loss and muscle growth. Once you have your diet and weight training in check, you can add some high-intensity interval training to boost fat loss a little further. This should only be done when you hit plateaus and your diet and weightlifting is not enough on its own. If you don't want to adjust your diet and you want to keep eating the same amount that you've been eating, you can burn some extra calories by throwing in one 15-minute high-intensity interval training session per week at a time. This session should include full body exercises that get your heart rate up, like burpees, squat jumps, and rope slams. The goal is to work as hard as you can for a short duration like 45 to 60 seconds and follow that up with a short break round where you take 30 to 60 seconds off. Then repeat again and again for 15 minutes. These full body aerobic workouts are a great way to burn a lot of calories in a short amount of time without promoting muscle loss. Finally,
I like them. Obviously, Metcons, those types of workouts are my favorite. Now, we can't overdo them, especially if you're a parent, and increasing a lot of stress can increase inflammation, which can flip backwards on you. So you got to make sure that you're pairing nutrition with these, or sometimes I even low calories the night before one of those types of workouts. So you're not then running on fumes doing that and creating more stress. So good tip. I like it. More metabolically active and can help your body even more so. Doing hard things always goes a long way.
Last tip for today is to set up your diet in a way that helps you eat less without you feeling hungry or deprived. For some of you, this may mean that you fast for the majority of the day and have a couple large meals, hours per day without food. So while this may work for some, it won't work for others. Others may do a lot better by controlling their hunger with small meals throughout the day. Simple suggestions, you will be able to stick to a healthy eating plan for longer, which will allow you to tap into the fat stores around your stomach over time. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have,
I do think this was a great video. I think those tips are great too. Making sure you find a way to make it workable for you. Some like fasting, but then also you can't run into the trap of eating only 2 meals a day and not getting enough and running yourself into the ground. You also then can lead to binging because you're so hungry that 3 days of fasting and you're eating into the cupboard for 3 hours. You got to know what works for you. I always really try out the best for what approach works for best clients. Also, fasting has been shown to be improving hormesis, which cleans out cells. But ultimately, some people that then eat more meals, they then overeat in the meals. So you got to figure out that balance. And once you do and find what works for you, you stick with it. Got it? But then you stick with it until it what? Doesn't work. Diet variability is the key. You can't keep doing the same thing all the time. I hope you like this video. Make sure you like and subscribe. And make sure you stay tuned because I've got a lot of great stuff coming your way. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.